What's up, guys? How are you? It's me, your boy Ebot, and I'm back with another video. Now, this video was something that I was trying to hold back. I was really contemplating on not doing it because this is one of those videos where the topic and subject matter is very divisive, and in a lot of cases you can't really see eye to eye with a lot of people because a lot of people just feel one way about it, and that's the way they feel about it, and they don't want to really think in any other direction or pattern or way, and with good reason, and also because you can't really tell people how to feel about a subject matter or not how to feel about a subject matter. So as you're going to see here in the background, you see behind me, I'm going to have right there Cyberpunk, as you see right there, 2020 running on the Xbox Series X. Because I've already said this before, that I've been playing the game, so I have my sons, and we haven't encountered any issues. Hasn't frozen on us, hasn't crashed, has no stuttering, there hasn't been no pop-ups, no floating cars, none of that Houdini stuff in the game. Now, am I saying that it's not there? No, not saying that at all. This video is not me saying that I'm right or you're wrong. To be honest, it's a subject that there's no really right or wrong. It's all how you want to look at it, how you feel about it, your own personal experience and perspective. Now, to be fair, me, myself, I've only played this game about 3.5 hours. But the time that I played it, I didn't experience anything. Nothing negative. It ran smooth. And I've heard the same thing from a lot of my fellow compadres around me have the Series X that are playing it on the Series X and said the same thing. Inclusively, I have Sega Man that played on Xbox One X, and he said that it runs fairly well, that he only has experienced some little issues like crashes, some little bugs from time to time, but nothing that is a deal breaker that messed up his immersion and experience of the game. Now, my video, obviously, as you see it right here with the game running, is my thoughts about what's going on with CD Projekt Red. What do I think happened with the whole scenario? Why I think the game is in the situation and in the state that it's in. Why the backlash is warranted and why it's not warranted. You know, this is something that I look at from three different perspectives: the perspective of the consumer, the developer, and the investors. And no one really is right or wrong, because with all due respect, every consumer has a right to be upset and angry and feel a certain way if the game's not working properly for them, right? But what I'm going to tell you, this is my honest opinion, what I think from the bottom of my heart, wholeheartedly, with the experience of me being a gamer for so many years and what I've seen through the years, and also me trying to be open-minded and fair and not jump the gun and just think without logic or reason, which is a very easy thing to do under the circumstances of the situation. I just spoke to someone today that I have a lot of admiration, a lot of respect for, and he went all out for the game because he was very hyped, he's super heated, super upset, and with reason. And we touched on a lot of topics and talked about a lot of things, and I'm going to speak about what I talked about, basically the same thing with him, and state my thoughts. But still, it doesn't take away or undermine what he felt or what anybody else felt. And I want to make that clear because a lot of people, you guys think that I'm trying to be Mr. Know-It-All, and that's not what I'm trying to do. That's not my intent. That's why I've waited all this time to even talk about this game. It is running at 60 frames in the performance mode. Now, what I really think happened with this game, and the very first problem that I feel this game has, number one, the obvious. We have the situation with the pandemic, with COVID. This is a very high-profile game, very expensive, with a lot of developers in the team. Over 1,000 people, if I'm not mistaken, for what I understand. If I'm wrong, correct me down in the bottom below. So these guys had a lot of hype to live up to after the success they had with Witcher 3. Now, this is something that I can't even imagine how hard it is to try to come up with and make a college product and make it work and make it work. It has no problems and work flawlessly over 4 or 5 platforms that it came out on, right? It's a very daunting task. Now, I do know that they have said the entire time, not showed the game on the base consoles from last gen, that is running fine. They've said it even in public, but I also think the reason for them to do that and why they did that is because they were not only trying to figure out a way to make the right decision without hurting them and hurting the consumer, but I really think that in order for them to get continued support from their investors, they needed to keep getting that money to keep going the game. They needed to kind of do that white lie, so to speak, to continue developing the game. Me personally, I think they should have went with the approach and just said, let's push the base console versions for another date, maybe 8 months down the road, and just release the Xbox One and PS4 version, PS4 Pro, and that you could also play on the Series X and the PlayStation 5. And some people are experiencing it on the PS5 as well, but they're experiencing problems in Spider-Man. And Spider-Man is not as demanding. They're experiencing problems in Demon's Souls. The game's not that demanding. I think in the case of PS5 is because the hardware, just like the Pro, is really not efficient and as good as people are believing it to be, because of the bells and whistles and the vertical slicing and the deception of Sony's style and tactics towards anything they bring out with their consoles and their hardware. Because we've seen that in the past for a lot of other things, right? So I know people are going to say, well, we have games that come out on Nintendo Switch and they're very polished. Absolutely, yes. But no Nintendo game made from internal properties, and intellectual property that they have, made from an internal developer on Nintendo, has any kind of level of quality, of high density and realism as this game. None. That's just something that we can't argue. It's just facts. That's just to touch basis on that. And another reason that Nintendo's always made it deemed to make sure that they always have that seal of approval of quality ever since back in the day when they did that stamping of Nintendo seal of approval, which helped gaming in a lot of ways to avoid shovelware. So, that's another part of the reason why I don't think they do these type of games, and they kind of stray away from them, because they know these are more complex games that you need really powerful hardware, and they can't always bring out the hardware because it's expensive to make these and create these hardware and consoles, and it takes a lot of R&D and a lot of resource, which they rather put into their games, right? So, plus their audiences is a different type of audience where they know the type of games they have to keep for the younger audience and the people that follow them from the retro scene. Just to say, cover that in case somebody brings it up. Now, the second thing I think is because CD Projekt Red knew, because you see what happened with Halo Infinite with 343, they try to be honest, as transparent as possible. And even though they still got backlash, and they still got criticized, they still got memed, and they still got made fun of, and Microsoft was looked at as a joke, to the point where they got so afraid that they pushed the game back a whole year. Okay? Is that better for the game and for the consumers? Absolutely, because we have less of a chance of having this type of issue of having a broken product of high quality magnitude come out with Halo Infinite, and then people be upset because it's not a finished product. And I think they really knew this, and even though they tried to show, or they did show, that footage of it running well on the base console, I'm pretty sure that was just something that was contained with a small area where it didn't have the hiccups, to hide the situation, not deliberately, even though it may sound like I'm damage controlling, but because of the fear of not being able to meet the deadlines with the investors, and then they don't finish the product or finish funding the product, and they will have to end up scrapping 3 or 4 years or 5 years that they've been working on the game, which is pretty difficult as a developer, I could imagine, to deal with. Now, investors usually are the white-collar men that provide the money but don't know the politics or the ins and outs of how the gaming community works and the gaming industry. They just say, have it ready, this is the deadline. Even if they already had delayed it 3 times. It's not going to matter. Sometimes games have to continuously get delayed. Look at what happened with Last Guardian. Neo. Those games were delayed almost 7 and 10 years. And when they came out, they were just mediocre. They still didn't meet the promise that was so-called set from the beginning when they were first showed. Even Last Guardian, that looked like a PS3 game when it came out on PS4. So these are things that we got to keep in mind and think about, that it's not as simple as black and white. And I have a feeling that this is a conflict that was happening between the investors and CD Projekt Red, which I also think that a big reason why the investors are now trying to say, well, they lied to us, they said this, they said that, because they're trying to clean up their side so they don't get none of the blame, because they see all the backlash and because of all the money that they're losing and how their stocks also have fallen down. They lost $1 billion. And it's also like when you see the article saying how they explain that they made all this money that they spent in one day to make the game, which was asked them by a person that spoke to them in an article, and they presented it to us, the public. And instead, in that article, the actual editors made it almost seem like they were being arrogant about it, which in reality probably wasn't even the case. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't like that, but it's very possible that it wasn't, because a lot of these articles made by these self-published, sites for gaming, all they rely on is negative, content. So in order to get that feed, in order to get that view count, right, in a lot of cases, they have to clickbait. And how do they clickbait? By negativity. Because negativity, just like drama, sells. And that is why they did that, to make it look even worse with the add insult to injury type of deal. And I really wish you could see what I'm seeing right now. It looks phenomenal. But again, and I'm playing this on my new Vizio H1 OLED, by the way. So that is something that I don't think it's really CD Projekt Red basically showing off, even though it may come off that way. In the same way, I don't think it was like they said today, even with all the refunds and all the returns, the game has managed to still sell well over 13 million units. But it's to be expected, because my son said something very valuable. It was one of the most anticipated games of this generation. And it makes sense. And plus, one of the biggest AAAs that we had only this year, because we didn't have a lot, especially due to COVID. And especially this caliber, where it's multi-plat, it's a world an environment that really isn't really used. There's not a lot of really games in the cyberpunk setting. I can only think of a handful off my top of my head, like Remember Me, Snatcher, The Hunt Down, and those are 2D and full motion videos from back in the day. So, and maybe Deus Ex, right? So, again, this type of world, Neo world, is very detailed. Everything in the game, the lighting, cars, the vehicle, every character is very high res. From the hair, the cybernetic parts, the tattoos, their mouth, their teeth. They even let you customize the genitals, which is stupid, but they let you do it, right? Like, that makes a difference in the game. I think it's just for comical value, to be honest, but it's there. So anyway, it's not like your genitals are gonna be weapons. But either way, it could happen. It is a new future, you never know. Not to be stupid, just basically what I'm trying to say is, it's unfortunate, and I do understand, and I do think it's warranted that the customers are mad. But with that being said, if you're getting a refund, and they're not denying you that refund, then by all means take the refund and just wait until you feel the game is ready, and then you play it and rebuy it again then. And it'll probably be way cheaper anyway. Or don't touch it at all, ever again, for feeling like you're deceived that you were deceptively deceived, or that there was deception on their part, because you have every right to, as a gamer and as a consumer. You have every right to. But if the game could work on the Series X and it's not even patched, or the Series S for that matter, that means the game is in working form in some way, shape, or form. And every time I look at videos, it's mainly the problem on the base consoles of last gen, PS4 Pro, and PS5. I really haven't seen, me personally, and if there is, you guys can send it to me, that's fine. I haven't seen no issues with the Series X or the Series S. This is why I'm showing you in real time, running it while my son is playing it, because I speak with proof. I don't like saying something, this is the experience I'm having, and then it really isn't. I've never been about lying to my audience. It speaks for itself when you watch the video. And yeah, this is a 15-20 minute video, I get that, but it's the principle of my point of what I'm trying to present to you, that I'm playing the game, we're playing the game in my household, and once again, I'll say it again, we have not experienced any issues on the Xbox Series X. As a matter of fact, I'm getting more issues with my camera freezing from the heat because I'm recording in 4K 60 than I have in this game. And that's a fact. Okay? So, I also think that, yes, it was wrong on CD Projekt Red's part not to be honest. They should have been honest and just said the truth and said it's not running well. We're just saying this because we wanted to make sure the investors backed us up. Bid forward with the investors, because that way they would have gotten less slack, I think, as far as being called liars, and the people would not, it would not taint the reputation that they have established this generation as one of the top tier, publishers. But I also understand that if they would have said the truth, more than likely, a big part of the community would have said, why you lied for it and say it was coming out for next gen if you knew it wasn't? And even if they told them, listen, we thought it would be possible without big sacrifices, but we were wrong. And everybody has a right to be wrong. Nobody's perfect, especially developers. It's a daunting task. Shit, movies are getting, hurt and destroyed. And it's a lot more simplistic than all this complexity that you have in a movie. In a game. Musicians, concerts, all types of stuff, all getting hurt due to the situation. So I could just imagine, like I said, developing a game of this caliber from home with over 1,000 employees. I don't even want to be in their shoes. Do I think they can rectify the situation? Absolutely. But it's going to take time. And unfortunately, this community doesn't like to give time to anyone unless they're told up front. Now that the damage is done, more than likely, they don't want to hear it. But is it possible? Yes. Why? Because we've had proof already. No Man's Sky. You look at No Man's Sky today, what it was, it's like night and day. But it took them almost a whole generation to fix that. Fallout 76, same exact thing, compared to what it was when it first released till now. Night and day. So it can be done, but we need to be patient. And if you don't have the patience, I think the best option, get your refund, forget that the game exists, and wait until you're ready, or until the game is ready, and then you play it. You understand? Because then that way there's less hurt, and they're still going to listen to you regardless, because they already started listening by doing patches. They've done a couple of patches already that has helped it in a lot of ways. Now, as far as the PlayStation, when they did take it out of the store, I just think that Sony's stopping the bleeding because they don't have Xbox money. And most likely, probably 90% of the people there, since they're experiencing the most problems, refunded the game. So they figured, we take it out, nobody can buy it, we don't have to start keep refunding. Makes perfect sense. Is it the right thing? Maybe not. But for them it is, because it's their pockets that's getting hurt. So, I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm not saying you're right. I'm not saying I'm wrong, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I'm trying to speak and come about this, my thoughts, as logical, as honest, and as coherent as I possibly can as a gamer and a consumer. And maybe I'm not susceptible to the anger and to what's going on because I haven't experienced any negativity. That's probably the reason why. Had I been experiencing it, then maybe I'd be pissed off like a motherfucker, just like a lot of you. But I'm not, because I haven't. I'm just being honest. Now, you can call me a liar all you want. Game's still playing in the background. I don't see no freezing. I don't see no stuttering. What I do see is that chick right there, and you can't really see it because the camera's more this way, unless I do this and do that and push it a little bit that way, and you see how it's moving. Everything's jiggling over here like a belly and stuff. Let me see. Let me see if I can move it this way. Move it over a little bit. All right. There you go. So guys, that's what I'm trying to say. And you know, I also honestly also think that with the Sony situation is because the console, the PS5, is not very well constructed.
I could just fool around in the open world, but then I'm locked. I should.
All right, guys, look, like I was saying, because my camera's getting hot with the lights and stuff. But basically, like I was saying, as far as Sony's situation, I think it's just because the hardware can't really withhold the, you know, how demanding the game is. Like I said in the Exile podcast, the game physical is 2 disc, which we haven't seen that since I think Witcher or Red Dead, something like that. So, and again, you know, comparing it to Red Dead is foolish. Red Dead's main basis is a horse, sky, rock, trees, weather effects, and a couple of animals and water. That's it. And then you have some shack areas here and there within the land, and that's about it. But this, in the bar alone, you have, you know, people smoking, people doing drugs, graffiti, using the bathroom, lights, music. You see the arcade machines, you see the TVs on the wall, all the details on the characters, the neon lights, the pool tables, everything in just one scene. In one scene. That's inside one of the bars. So, you know, the geometry in the world is just completely different. So you can't compare them. They're not comparable. Plus, you're seeing it in first-person perspectives. That makes it more demanding because you're seeing it in a closer view, and it's open world. So, and with RPG elements. So, you know, that argument I think is kind of foolish. Now, so like I said, to go run by again, I think the first reason was definitely the pandemic. Second reason, the pressure of the investors, because they weren't going to give them no more time to delay it or possibly even fund it, which would lead to the game cancellation. And I think they were willing to take the risk by doing that lie. And I think the third reason was that CD Projekt Red lied to try to help long term, but not thinking that the repercussions with the community was going to be a lot more hurtful, and their perception was going to be tainted a lot more. But I understand why they would have done it, me being in that position. Then again, everybody's different, right? And, you know, let me be clear. There is a possibility that they lied on purpose. They got cocky and arrogant thinking they weren't going to get caught. There's very possible that that is a possibility. But me being a developer that has a lot of good reputation, putting myself in their shoes, why would I want to taint that? Why would I want to ruin that? Logically speaking and realistically speaking. Why would I want to make a bad name that took us so long to establish, since we've been on the PC scene since Witcher 1 and finally got our dues now, all these years later? It just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, thinking logically as a human being. Then again, it wasn't money, because they already got money from CD Projekt Red from Witcher 3. I don't think, and the TV show with Netflix, I don't think it was a money issue. So, I mean, I don't know. It's possible. I'm not going to say that it's not within the realm of possibility. It is. I just don't think logically and realistically it makes any sense. So, guys, that's my thoughts. Tell me what you think down below in the comments. Give me a thumbs up if you like. Give me a thumbs up if you don't like. You don't have to agree with me. This is not a video that you have to agree or disagree. We all have our different thoughts and opinions and process. You know, nobody's right and wrong. Like I said, I'm not right. I know I'm not right. I don't really know. For all I know, there could be scumbags and did it on purpose. I don't know. I'm just doing based on what I'm seeing and putting them pieces together and knowing how things work business-wise with investors and how difficult it could be to prove yourself with a big project like this if you want to continue getting, done. That's the reason why I believe, Scalebound was a travesty and didn't happen because of the back and forth, the deception made with the developers, the money that Microsoft was investing, and the timeline. Things have to be done in timely fashion because once you make that promise, right, to your audience, and I'm trying to put this up a little bit. Once you make that promise to your audience, right, where you're telling your audience every day, in and out, right, you're telling them, listen, the game comes out tomorrow. Let's just say, right, giving you just a hypothetical reason. The game comes out tomorrow. So because it comes out tomorrow, you can't go back on that word, right? You can't go back on that and say, I really hate this, this stupid stand thing. You can't really go back and say, oh, listen, guess what? After 5 years of a promise, it's just not happening. And expect that things are going to go easy. You can't expect that. That's not going to happen. So, I think that's a big part of it. So, guys, like I said, let me know what you think. Tell me if you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. If you subscribe, thank you so much because I know you don't have to. But if you did, remember, I'm very grateful. And now I consider you part of my family because I know you didn't have to. So, also, if you want to find me on social media, I'm on Twitter under C_respect. That's Instagram. Then Twitter, I'm under Hebot Powerful Gamer. And then if you guys want to find me on Xbox Live, I'm on Hebot 8. On Switch, Hebot 8. And on PS4, PlayStation Network, whatever you want to call it, PlayStation Live, it's Outfell from Sky. I'm barely there, so you probably collect cobwebs and dust before you find me there, but I'm there. Either way, like I was trying to say, I'm grateful that you took the time to hear me out. And I hope that you understand where I'm coming from, you don't get mad at me, you don't judge me, and that you don't get offended by what I was saying, and you kind of hear me out. Love you guys very much. I'll see you in the next one. And remember, if you guys ever want to help me out in any way, shape, or form with my platform to help me do better things, like better lighting, better stands for my stupid camera, whatever the case may be, you know how to do it. It's all down in the description below. Just like if you want to donate anything you want me to view or look into or pass through, I'll be more than glad to. It'll be an honor. Just DM me and we'll work out the particulars. And soon I'm going to try to do a video on this TV to talk about it, to tell you the pros and the cons, and if it's worth it, if it's not worth it, and depending on your perspective and what you think based on the pros and the cons. So guys, Hebot signing off. See you then. Bye bye. Love you guys. Peace.